gon' call me Jiggy when I'm home, they call me Snowman here. We ain't never home, but treat the city like the base, yeah. You know where to look if you're looking for the wave, yeah. Looking for the...
Welcome to another episode of EuroSteppin podcast. Today, we got a good one. Snow, how you doing?
Man, I'm good, man. It's beautiful weather in Seattle. So, yeah, I'm good.
Beautiful weather in Seattle. That don't really sound right, especially in the December.
Hey, man, it's a beautiful sunny day today, man. It's clear blue skies. I'm feeling good.
You should.
I'm feeling real good. I'm feeling real good about this guest, too, man. He came in with the right energy before we even got started, so this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I'm glad the weather looking good out there, man. You should feel good because you don't get too many of these days. Anyway. Hey, we got a good one, man. A guy who's been grinding for a long time in Europe. Name known all around. Man, he's been given a lot of buckets. I've been winning a lot of places. I mean, I'm just going to run down some of his accolades he'd racked up. He's been a Euro Challenge Final Four MVP. He's been a Euro Challenge champion. He's been an Israeli League champion, ABA League Finals MVP, ABA League champion, a Russian League All Symbolic First Team, VTB United League Hall of Fame, VTB United League All-Star, VTB United League Scoring Champion, VTB United League Champion. I'm getting kind of tired of talking about all this, but you know, we're going to keep going. Two-time Greek Cup winner, Greek Basket League champion, all Euro Cup second team, Euro Cup top scorer, FIBA Champions League star lineup, FIBA Champions League MVP, all Euro League first team, and two-time Euro League top scoring trophy. Welcome to the show, Keith Langford.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. That list you just read down, I went to Wikipedia the other day. I had to screenshot it. I actually had to do 2 screenshots to fit it all in there, man. So I appreciate you reading all the way down the list, man. I really do.
I had to scroll up a little bit to, make sure I got everything, but it's cool. It's cool. That means a lot of work.
Took 16 years. Took 16 years to get a lot of that done, but let's see if we can add to it, man.
Yeah.
So, man, we want to jump straight in, man. You, like you said, man, you done it all, man.
Let's go.
I kind of want to start early in your career. So help our viewers understand. Before we get to your pro stuff, we're going to get there. That's the show's EuroSteppin. We're going to get to all your European stuff. But can you tell the viewers, how'd you end up picking Kansas and why?
Okay, so I'll try to make a long story short. But
okay.
Kansas actually kind of picked me. I committed to Ole Miss as a junior in high school. I wasn't highly recruited. Coming out of my sophomore year, I was about 6'1", 6'2". I was a starting power forward on my high school team. And my best friend got invited to an AAU tryout, and he asked me to go with him because he didn't want to go by himself. I ended up going to the tryout, was terrified. Everybody there pretty much had big names. It was Jason Maxill, Bracy Wright, a lot of guys, Darren Williams. I mean, a lot of guys, like from the area that became pros at that time. So anyway, what ends up happening is I ended up in the trial, I ended up making the team, and my friend gets cut. And so I know it's wild, man. And so anyway, so what ends up happening is that I started to get recruited. I go on the summer circuit with them that sophomore summer, and then I end up getting recruited by like Paris Junior College, North Texas, McMurray State, some stuff, places like that. And then out of nowhere, I get a letter from Ole Miss, and then I get invited to Nike camp, and then before even seeing the campus or anything, me, my mom, my brother, we sit down and we're like, oh man, this is Ole Miss, this is the SEC. At least we get to play against Kentucky and Florida every year. Man, Keith, you might want to take this. So I say, boom. Never been to Oxford, Mississippi. don't know nothing about Ole Miss basketball. I tell the coach, yeah, I'm coming to Ole Miss. So commit to Ole Miss. Then I go through my junior year, junior summer, go to Nike camp again, playing great. And then all of a sudden, it's like I get back to school, and my college coach is like, my high school coach is like, hey, Keith, I got a call today from Arizona, Cincinnati, and Kansas. He's like, you wouldn't know anything about that, would you? And I was like, man, I said, nah, but, I held to my commitment. So, like, I held to my commitment, kept going. And then finally later, like, the school year started. And then finally, at Kansas, what ended up happening was Chuck Hayes, Daniel Ewing, Allen Anderson, Deshaun Stevenson goes pro.
Mm-hmm.
And then who else was it? There was one more guy. Anyway, they all ended up saying no. So it's five. These five things had to happen. They all ended up saying no, and Kansas is left without a wing player for 2001. And so they're like, look, Coach Doherty at the time, God rest his soul, he's passed since. Neil Doherty, who ended up being the head coach at TCU, he said, look, Coach Williams likes Keith. We need a guard. We want him, but we're not going to recruit him unless he decommits from Mississippi. And so, yeah, at that point, man, me and my family, we had been locked in to Ole Miss and everything. So anyway, I go visit Ole Miss finally for the first time. And man, I'm from Texas, and I thought I was from the South, man. But if you've never been to Oxford, Mississippi, then that's the South. That's the South, man. So we go to Oxford, and man, that 48 hours, no disrespect to any Ole Miss alum or fans on it that see this thing, man. But I was like, I can't do this. I can't do it. No way I can live here and go through this. And so anyway, we get back, and I tell my mom I want to decommit from Ole Miss. Difficult process. My mom cried, I cried. It was very tough. And then so anyway, we opened it back up. Arizona tells me no. They end up taking Salim Stoudemire, the ties with Damon Stoudemire, his nephew. And then so it comes down to Cincinnati and Kansas. And I go to the Cincinnati visit. The Cincinnati visit is before Kansas. I visit Cincinnati. I get off the plane, come back home. I have a great time. Kenny Satterfield was my host. Steve Logan. Some people don't remember these guys, but man,
No, we do.
Yeah. Okay, right. So y'all know I'm not speaking Chinese right now. So yes, it was an incredible visit. Actually, on my visit, Kenyon Martin had just left, and they were having a preseason game. His first preseason game with the Nets was at Cincinnati's gym. Oh yeah,
that's
man.
great.
I met Big O, met Kenyon, kicked it with all of them dudes. And even it was Steven Jackson's first game with the Nets as well, man. He had just grinded back up from, the whole thing. He was just getting back into the league. And so we was all kicking in and hanging out. So I get back off the plane.
Keith, 1 second. Was Donald Little on that team?
Donald Little was there too, man. This was before all that stuff went down. Yeah. Donald Little was there. Yeah, but he was cool, man. Listen, I can say this now because I'm so far removed. Donald Little took me in the closet. I got Cincinnati gear. He gave me all the per diem they gave him. He gave me on the visit. We was cool, man. I was in his crib. I was hanging out with Donald Little. So yeah, it's funny you say
he was the first team I played on in Europe. He was my teammate for a little bit.
Did he tell you that story?
He didn't give me the whole rundown, but he gave me a little bit of it, so I thought I'd throw it in there.
Okay. I'm going to have to get that from you after the podcast. Huh?
Was Emmanuel McElroy on that team?
Emmanuel McElroy was there too, man. I was going to throw his name out there, but I wasn't sure if you guys would recognize it or not. Yeah.
We in it. We here.
Okay, yeah. Phil Williams was on the team as well, man. I was Leonard Stokes. It was all of those guys were there, and I was like, I fell in love with it. Loved the campus. My teammate, my AAU teammate, Jason Maxill, who ended up playing for the Pistons, he was going there, and so I was like, I'm going. And I went on a visit by myself. I get off the plane, I land. My mom's there waiting on me, and I'm like, yeah. I told Coach Huggins I was coming to Cincinnati, and she looked me dead in the face. Was like, no, you're not. And so I was like, what do you mean? No, I'm not. She was like, no, you're going to visit Kansas, and then you can make your decision after that. And then needless to say, man, obviously as a 17-year-old, you bow down to what your mom says. And so I go on to visit the Kansas. They had a preseason game, exhibition game. That's what you call it in college. They had an exhibition game against EA Sports, and man, I walked in the field house for the first time, and needless to say, Drew Gooden was my host, Kirk Heinrich, and I mean, I kicked with them boys for that, and I was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna come here. So, I mean, but it was crazy, man. Like literally from like April, May, up to that point of like November of my senior year, my senior year of high school, like all of this stuff happened though, from like Ole Miss to getting recruited by these schools, and also all this happened in a short window, man. So I literally got recruited to these schools, I'm telling you, for a couple months, and then I didn't make the decision, and then ended up at Kansas. And the only reason why all of that happened, had that not happened, I probably would have ended up at Cincinnati, because there's no opportunity if Chuck Hayes, Allen Anderson, Sean Jackson doesn't go pro, all of these guys don't commit. So that's how I ended up there. So I always tell guys a lot, like, people end up at these big schools, but doesn't mean that you were their first choice. So like, I kind of have the Kansas tag, but that really wasn't, my story starting out.
Right. So you go to Kansas, your freshman year is cool, but your sophomore year, you go crazy. Junior year, you still go crazy. Senior year, you go crazy. So 3 years in a row, you're about 15, 16 a night. Where's your head at? You thinking you're getting drafted? Like, where's your head at in that moment? And then tell us can you break down that story, your draft process, and then kind of just how that whole time went for you and where you at mentally. Look it off.
So my sophomore year, I was we're in New Orleans and we're about to play. We beat Marquette in the Final Four, and we're about to play Syracuse. And at that time, like, man, in the hotel, like, me and Aaron Miles are roommates on the road, and so like in the hotel, like, man, I'm getting crazy calls by agents to the hotel room. They're like, Keith, you come out, you got to come out, this and that, and I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, literally, like, I have no idea how these guys are getting this information, but I mean, that's part of the hustle. Everybody figures it out.
Yeah.
So, like, and then so finally, I end up, I don't know why at that time, but like, you trust, the atmosphere you're in so much, like with the college coaches and the team, and you're so focused. So anyway, I ended up telling the coaching staff, and they ended up turning the phone off in the room or whatever. So anyway, so at that point, I'm thinking like, me and Jeff Graves. I was pretty close with Jeff Graves, and Jeff Graves had an awesome run in the tourney that year too. And so we both said, look, if we win this, we're going to come out. Like, we're going to come out and we're going to roll. Because my sophomore year was by far my best year playing college basketball. So anyway, we ended up losing to Syracuse, and then Coach Williams leaves, and then like we're kind of sitting there, and then like at that point, I'm like, I'm out. Like, there's nothing to talk about. Like, I'm literally, like, I told my boys, Jeff Hawkins, Wayne Simeon, Aaron Miles, Mike Lee, tell them all, like, hey, man, it was great too. I'm rolling. And then Aaron, like, pulls me aside. He's like, nah, Keith, come on, man. Like, he's like, look, we're going to run this back. He said, we're going to win this shit. We're going to go to 3 straight fours. And then we're going to show Roy that he shouldn't have left us. We're going to all roll together as juniors. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's do it. So Coach Self comes in, and so we going all the way through that year. It's rocky, it's up and down, but we're all playing well. And we end up in the Elite Eight, lose to Jared Jack and Will Bynum and those guys in Georgia Tech. But what ends up happening, man, is that my knee started hurting in February. And I was like, something's wrong. Like, with my knee, like, I'm losing my explosiveness, I'm having pain, and I'm taking injections and stuff before the game. Anyway, I end up getting an MRI, and the doctor tells me, Keith, he's like, you need surgery after the season. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, like, because I had a scope before. I had a meniscus at that point. He was like, nah. He was like, this is a little more serious. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you need microfracture surgery. And I was like, at that time, I had no idea what that meant. He was like, no. He's like, it's gonna be 4 to 6 months. And I was like, 4 to 6. I said, but I'm already like, I can still play. Like, what do you mean 4 to 6 months? And he was like, no. He's like, this is the same surgery that Amari Stoudemire, Jamal Mashburn, Darius Miles, Jason Kidd, like, all of these guys are having this surgery. He's like, no, this is serious. And so I'm like, so that time he tells me that right before, this is like February, like, so March, right before the Big 12 tournament. and going to the NCAA tournament. So anyway, so I delayed the surgery until after the season. And then so I had a surgery right after we lose to Georgia Tech. Then that summer we went to Canada, like on an exhibition tour. My knee it's still bothering me. I tried to come back. It still bothered me in July. And so they go back in and do it again to clean up like a debridement, to clean through some more cleaning. And then so this is July going into my senior year. Like obviously I can't enter the draft. I just had surgery twice. I mean, I just had microfracture surgery. So I was going to be out 4 to 6 months. So I wasn't entering the draft, which derailed that whole plan with Aaron and the guys. And then so I had surgery again in July. And then September of my senior year, my other knee starts hurting. And I'm like, and so they go through the MRI and they like, Keith, the same thing's happening in the other knee.
Yeah.
I said, no, like, so like literally I'm on the floor, I'm in tears. And like, so they had to go in and do it wasn't a full microfracture, but they had to do like a smaller version of it because they could see it developing. So I've had 3 surgeries in like 7 months, 2 on my right knee and 1 on my left knee. And I've already had 1 meniscus the year before. So like that's 4 surgeries. So I started my senior year off terrible. I'm averaging like 9 points a game. I'm like 230 pounds. I'm overweight. Coach Self on my ass, calling me fat every day, talking shit. I mean, which, okay, like at the time I hated him, but looking back now, you know, mentally, you know, it put me in a different place. But so anyway, so I ended up getting it together, you know, averaging, like you said, about 14, 15. But then we lose in the first round of Bucknell, man. And and literally, but before, what a lot of people don't know, before the Bucknell, like my knees were hurting my whole senior year, man. My knees were hurting because I was pushing through and I was out of shape and trying to like get everything back. So anyway, I was started taking Toradol injections during the season. And then so what happened is like probably towards the end of the Big 12 season, about 2 or 3 games before the Big 12 ended, I ended up having an allergic reaction. So I go to the hospital. I missed the last part of the Big 12 season. I missed the Big 12 tournament. And then we go into the first round and we're playing Bucknell. I'm going to say we were a 3 seed. They were 14. It's 3-14 or 4-13. I'm not sure.
3-14.
Okay, 3-14. Yeah. So coach like Keith, like, you know, okay, we're going to sit you out this game. I think, you know, like if Wisconsin wins, we'll have them in the second round. I think at that time they had the kid that got drafted to the Suns. I can't remember his name, but he was big time. It had a wing. But anyway, he was saying that like they'll give you more time to practice and get ready. And so I was like, okay, cool. So you're gonna come off the bench and Mike Lee's gonna start. But he was like, you won't play if we don't need you. So he was like we should be able to manage this game and it'll be all right. So literally my last game of my career, I'm sitting on the bench thinking, all right, this Bucknell, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just kind of there, you know, I'm chilling. And then like, man, it's tight, man. And now mind you, I've been in like, even in our Final Four runs, like we had tight games, like against Holy Cross, like we were 1 seed, like Holy Cross took us down to like the last 2 or 3 minutes. Like, you know, we were scared, like literally. And so anyway, I'm sitting there and I'm kind of like, all right, cool, that is tight. You know, we'll get up by like 7, 9, and they'll cut it to like 3. And then like, man, at one point it gets close and then like, in the first half, and like it don't feel right. And coach kind of gives me that look. He was like, because it was uncomfortable, man. I was like, all right, I'll go. But like literally, I haven't practiced. I literally just spent like a week, 10 days in the hospital, and I get up off the bench, man. And we played and we tried, man. We gave it our best, but Bucknell, they had some seniors and they were tough, man. And they just had some big ass shots. And they beat us. So anyway, we lose. And then, now mind you, my numbers aren't great. They're lower than they have been the last couple of years. We lose in the first round. And I go into the draft process, like my knees are hurting. And but I still get invited to Chicago. I don't have to go to Portsmouth. I go to Chicago. And then what ends up happening, man, is that like anybody who's been to like the draft process, they have like when teams inquire about you, they have like the medicals. There's a day where they do like everybody. And so like you're kind of sitting there, everybody's like sectioned off and you're sitting there and like they have like one like team medical guy that's assigned to you. Like, and it's random. So like, and the guy that was assigned to me, it's funny, his name was Keith. It was the guy from Houston Rockets, the guy with the glasses that's pretty popular that everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
The trainer from the Rockets, so anyway. And so, man, while he was sitting there, and so about the way it works is all the teams that are interested in you, they come and they're standing around and they want him to read your medical history. He's like, microfracture, 2009. Second microfracture, no. He's reading it down, and I'm looking, and like my stomach is like churning, man, and I'm looking at everybody's like, yeah, microfracture. And then so and I only ended up doing like 7 workouts, because a lot of people was turned off by the way my senior year went and the injury history. And so when it came down to it, I pretty much knew, when the time came that I wasn't going to get drafted. So it relieved the sting a little bit of it not happening. I could see it coming before, and I was already prepared. But the thing that hurt the most was that I had the opportunity to go sooner and I didn't do it. And that's really what hurts. It hurts more than not being drafted, is that like I didn't strike, and then so I end up. But I mean, I'm here now, so I wouldn't have never been here.
Right.
I'd have been there. So that's kind of what happened, man. And then I started working the chitlin circuit like everybody else, man. Summer league, free agent camps, and just trying to get $1 here and there. End up playing the USBL. I did all that.
Yep. So you do that, and then you finally, after all these different camps, and like you said, you called it the chitlin circuit. I didn't. You did. So you ran through that, and then you finally go overseas and you go play A2 Italy. Right? That's your start to European basketball.
Yeah.
Can you talk to our viewers about how where was your head at when you finally said, you know what, I'm going overseas, man. I ain't finna keep chasing this. I'm going overseas.
Right. So it was 2 things. One, I was broke, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like I took $70,000 from an agent when I left school, and I spent all of it. But I was in Los Angeles shopping, doing all the dumb stuff that kids still do now, but they shouldn't do. Take money from my agent, put a down payment on a Hummer. I did all that, man. I did all of it. And
no, hold on. Time out. I don't want to breeze past that, because a lot of our viewers are these young guys coming up behind us, right?
Okay.
And that's something we really got to hammer home. So can you please say a little bit more about some of the bad decisions you made in that process that you maybe not would change because you learned so much, but you would just steer others away from?
Okay, so really what happens is, so at Kansas, really, so what happens is you see Drew Gooden go off the board. Boom, you see Kirk Hines. Boom, you see Nick Collison. Boom, you see Wayne Simeon. Boom, you see all these guys. So what ends up happening is like they get drafted, and then they come back. Man, Kirk got the Navigator on 26s. He got the range on the thumb. He got the deal with this, and he got the big chain he came back for his birthday. He had this big crazy chain on, and it was like, I mean, and first of all, the pressure is crazy. So you see the money, you see the pressure, and it's like, man, I got to do that too. And so automatically you feel that I need the whip, I need the clothes, I need the jewelry, I need to fit in. I need to keep going, keep climbing this ladder. And that's the way it looks. So, man, so I fell victim to it too. So when I come out, the agent's like, and the first thing, like, the agent I ended up signing with had been flying my mom to games, like throughout the season and stuff, just kind of sowing the seeds the whole time. Like anybody was like, you got to cut that off from the beginning. Like, Yes, you got to cut that off from the beginning. Listen, if your mom been watching on TV all this time, she can watch a little bit longer. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If your mom get that little rental car and put them miles on it, grab your uncle, your homie from the city or something, man, let ride with you. But you can't let them guys, anchor you down with those kinds of perks. And so that ended up happening. And then so at the end, he's like, hey, look, all right. He was like, what you need? I was like, what you mean what I need? He was like, well, now you're a pro. He was like, he was like, you want to get a car? You want to go? You want to do shopping? You got to pay for your trainer. You got to do this and that. And I was like, I was saying, well, shit, I can't do that. And he was like, no. He's like, I got you. Don't worry about it. He was like, what you need? I was like, and I don't really understand money at that time. So I'm like, so when he throws out the number, he was like, what you need, 50, 100? And I was like, Like, yeah, I need that. He's like, what? He was like, tell him. I was like, well, no, whatever you think, because so I'm letting him do it. So he's like, all right, look, we're gonna get you this line of credit for 30 right here. And he was like, you got another line for 15. And then he was like, then I'm gonna just, and then I had like, he gave me like 5 cash, and then the other was just like, was just a straight loan from a financial advisor that was working with this firm or whatever. So I took
a loan shark.
Yeah. I mean, no, actually, no, it was for a tangible firm.
Okay.
It was an actual firm, but he had a propensity for athletes though, so he wasn't a shark. But I mean, no, he ended up being a shark because yeah, there you go, there you go. But these guys, man, like, and these were brothers too, which really was like, kind of like made me feel more comfortable. Yeah, you know what I mean. So anyway, so I ended up taking that money, man. So what guys don't understand, what guys need to understand is that if you aren't a guaranteed top 10, a top 5, and one of them, even those guys shouldn't be taking it. But if you know you gonna have trouble maybe paying this back, if you have even the slightest question, that means you shouldn't be doing it first.
Yep.
You shouldn't be. And then what guys don't understand is that if you take 70,000 and you blow it, you're really blowing through 140,000 because you blew through 70,000, and then now you got to pay back 70,000. So that's 140,000 worth of capital that's gone. And so now you're like, and guys don't understand, and I didn't understand that until like I had nothing to show for it. I had a fucking expensive Hummer payment. I had no need for an H2 at that time. I ain't had a house, so I got an H2, no money, and then my first contract at A2 Italy was for $160K. And I had to pay $70,000 of that back to the agent, to the financial advisor, and to the line of credits that they had gave me. And so when I ended up coming home from A2 Italy, I had $11,000.
Jesus.
I mean, we've all been there. I mean, I've blown a lot of money through the years. My first couple of years, not knowing come from.
Hey, he knows something. Alvin knows something. He knows something.
Now, he probably he know me.
Right.
You can imagine.
Right.
We didn't know. No one was there to teach us.
That's right, man. And we don't know money, and we don't understand it is dangerous.
Tell me this, Keith. Speak when you tell that story. This is what I try to tell these young guys because we do the podcast, but I'm also an agent myself now, right?
Okay.
And so one of the things I tell guys, I say, if a guy is giving you this money, right? He's not actually making an investment in you. You got to pay that back.
You got to pay that back, 100%.
He's selling it to you as if he's making an investment in you. Right. He's not. He's not.
He's competing with his counterparts. He's competing. Yes. He wants to put the money in your pocket before they do.
Yes.
He outbid them as well. And the biggest thing that these agents have is just the lack of understanding with the finances. And so a lot of us, unfortunately, we don't come from money, and our parents don't come from money. And so when you don't understand what, like, owing somebody, how that really anchors you and mentally, and like, that money could be going towards your family, that money, and you've been poor or you've been without this for so long. Why is it's not really going to hurt you that much longer? That concept is hard to grasp. But if you can get over the pressure of your peers, if your peers he gets drafted, he's top 10, or he's a one and done or something like that. If you can get over that pressure, well, man, maybe it might take me 3 or 4 years. Maybe it might take me, a little longer than what this guy's process is. If you can rationalize that, you can save yourself a lot of financial harm going forward.
Yeah. So boom, let's wrap that up. Get to now you're in Italy. Okay, so now you run through that. You run through your money. You got $11,000 leaving Italy, and you got to figure out how you're gonna navigate the summer with $11,000, right? Right. So now, but you're going into year 2. You have a good year, and you're going into year 2.
Yes.
So now, can you tell? We didn't get a chance to talk about some of the things, like some of the differences between being in the States and being in college and in Europe. What were some of the cultural shocks you dealt with, even coming over?
Like, before we get to that, before you even got on that plane and you figured you was coming to another part of the world, what was you thinking?
Great question. Listen, man, I had no concept of Europe, but I'm thinking like, I said, man, I'm going to Italy. Man, when I touch down, it's about to be like buildings everywhere. It's about to be clean and just, I don't know, like this is like real, just futuristic type stuff and just society. I mean, just something like pristine and unimaginable. I was like, man, this is gonna be crazy. Like this is gonna be way better in the States. Like it was gassed up to me so crazy by my agent and everything. He was like, oh man, he's like, you're gonna be like, he was like, he said it's gonna be like you going right outside of Milan. It's gonna be like you driving you live in the suburbs. It's gonna be like you live in the suburbs and you just driving into town anytime you want to, man. It's gonna be great restaurants, it's great shopping, everything there. So I'm like, oh cool, Milan. And like at that time, like I don't think people understand like 05, 06, like Google ain't really happening like that. So like you can't just hop on the joint and just like, hey, Milan or Cremona and just like look at Italy like that. You really kind of just got to go by like TV or movies and your own hearsay and what people are telling you. So I'm getting on the plane thinking, and then the guy first of all, I'm in the way back on the plane. I might have been sitting on the wing on the way over there. I might have been strapped in that wing, fam. And the guy that's on the plane, and this is another big mistake for your guys, young guys listening. I take my best friend with me, like, cause I have no concept. Like, I'm making 160,000. I'm like, man, you see this? Like, man, it's 160. Like, we good, man. So, and it's crazy because at that time, like, I didn't have an email, I didn't have nothing. And so the team sent me the contract through fax. So I had to go to my best friend's house because his mom had a fax machine. And so the joint's coming through the fax machine, and he like, I've already told him what the contract is for, and he like, man, like for real, like he's like, they go pay you that much to go overseas and play? I'm like, yeah, bro, like they about to send the contract. He's like, come on, so I give him the fax number, and we watching it come through the fax machine, and like when it comes through, like I kid you not, man, like we're both like, first of all, he look at me. And he's in tears. Like tears start coming out. He's like, hey, he was like, yeah, nigga, yeah, we good. He was like, we good. He was like, we started making all these plans, and he was like, man, and so, man, anyway, he comes with me. We get on the plane, we get on like, man, this Milan. And the dude, is a black guy. He's a flight attendant on the plane. He's like, oh, y'all going to Milan? He was like, hey, man, y'all love it, man. He was like, where exactly you gonna be in Milan? And I was like, well, no, it ain't really in Milan. It's like a little bit outside, but it's, and I'm trying to describe to him. He's like, no, I ain't never heard of that. So I'm like, all right, but anyway, so he's telling me about Milan. He's like, oh man, the pizza and the life. And he's like, oh man, you're gonna love this and that. And so I'm like, yeah, man, this what we're saying, man, we good. So man, we get there and we land. I'm like, man, where are all the buildings? Where are all the lights? Where are all the why all the cars is hatchbacks? Why is what's up with all the spray paint and what's going on? Man, we get into Milan and actually, you know what? I take that back. We didn't even see Milan. We're driving past. I'm like, man, where is Milan? Like we just drive, man, and we end up driving for 2.5 hours, man. I'm like, and so as we drive, and I'm asking the guy, I said, hey, how far are we from Milan, man? He was like, oh yeah, we're about 2 hours away. I was like, hold on, man, the guy told me, I was like, I could ride into the city every day for dinner. He was like, no, it's impossible. Just matter of fact. Real matter of fact, he didn't give a damn about what dude had told me before I got over there. So I get there, man, get to the gym, and the first thing I realized, boom, facilities are not what they are in the States. Especially, I don't give a damn if you come from Kansas or if you come from mid-major, whatever. Even at the mid-majors, you have arenas that are clean with fold out seats and lights and air conditioning, heat, whatever. You got ice on deck whenever you want it. You got your own stall in the locker room. Listen, man, I get there. The gym got only seats on one side. And in the locker room, there's no stalls. There's just 2 benches in the locker room with hooks up on the wall. And I'm like, man, what's the you know, and then I see the toilets. The toilet, they don't even have a toilet. It's the one with the hole in the ground.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, where am I? Like, what is like? This ain't what he sold me. You know what I'm saying? And then and at that time, it ain't no WhatsApp. It ain't no like I can't just. You know, it ain't no SIM card where I can just pick up my jack from the States and call back.
Instant Messenger, MSN, Yahoo.
I mean, all that. AOL, you got all
Right.
that.
Right.
Man, there's no, and man, I just, and so at that point, I made another mistake. And so upon passing the physical, they give you $5,000 cash. And then so, you know, my best friend, my man's is with me. So we get the 5 and we like, yo, where's Milan? Like, they give me the team card. And you know, when you play in the second division, the team card got the guerrilla marketing on it. So they got the whole team print on it. In the Volkswagen with the team logo all over it. And we like, yo, I don't know how we gonna get to Milan, but we about to get there. Like, ain't no GPS on the phone. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, you got to hit the A2. And then you just on the A2 for 30 minutes. And then when you see the sign, you get off right there. Like, that's how you had to get there. So, man, anyway, we ended up finding it, man. First thing we hit the Louis store. I bought a duffel. I bought my man some shoes. I might have walked out of that Louis store with some coins, with some euros. Terrible. My man still got them shoes though to this day. He still got them. But then that was my first experience though, man. Like I was like, yo, this is like the facilities and not being able to have things like ice, extra t-shirt, socks, tights, all of those things on demand. Like you realize that like that's done. That is over with immediately.
Listen. Go ahead, Dave.
The free shoes, everything.
Free shoes, oh yeah, all that. You got to bring all that. You got to,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's what's crazy. You're where you are now, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You made it from. You made what in you, dog? What in you was different to where you had the willingness to grind to get from that,
right,
all the way through. You made it to EuroLeague. You made it to like what was. Because there's so many guys. Like I got a guy I just spoke to last week who wanted to quit because he didn't have ice. Who wanted to quit and go home because he didn't have water on the table at dinner because the team wasn't providing water or juice. Oh, no. He wanted to go home.
Give him my number. Give him.
Nah, but I know, and as you do probably too, you know a lot of guys who go in that type of circumstance and it's over for them. They're going back home because they can't.
Right. That's right.
So what gave you the drive to just keep on pushing?
Right. So at that time, initially it was I still wanted to play in the NBA at that time. So I was like, my focus was if I want to get to the league, you know, this is what I have to do. So I still wasn't 2 feet in Europe completely. But the good thing I had a really good European agent, man. And the European agent, like his name is Nick Lotos. He represented Mike Batiste all the way back to Alfonso Ford, the guy who the trophy is named after. I mean, he represents even now Milos Teodosic, Shane Larkin. I mean, he's a big time guy, man. And not only from a sense of like he brings money, you know, in big contracts, but he had the foresight to tell me, he was like, look, Keith, he was like, first of all, he was like, you have an offer from a team called Alba Berlin. He was like, you have no idea what that means, but you have an offer for $300,000. And I was like, oh shit, let's go. Like, what you come? He was like, no. We're gonna go to second division Italy, and you're gonna learn how to live in Europe.
Yes.
And they're gonna let you make mistakes.
Yes.
That you're not able to make here at Alba Berlin.
Yep.
He was like, listen, if you do this, he was like, you're good enough to trust me. He was like, you can make $1 million a year playing basketball in Europe. And I was like, man,
yep.
He was like,
yep.
So he was like, listen, he's like, take the sacrifice now. He was like, I'll give you the kind of like, I'm your agent. I can't not give it to you. But he was like, look, I'm telling you, if you turn down this 300 and take this 160, he was like, I promise you, you'll make 7 figures annually for the prime of your career. And so he's like, you need to do this. And I did it, man. And I mean, I just, I trusted him because I was at rock bottom, you know what I mean, in my career. As far as, like I said, I was in debt. I didn't know Europe. I didn't understand things. And so at that point, when you're at rock bottom, you kind of like, and somebody's extending you a lifeline, you have to, trust and like, hey, look, like if I can't play in the NBA, and then this is what he told me that really convinced me at the end. He said, look, if you want to play in the NBA, right? I said yes. And he was like, you go back. And he was like, if somebody gives you a contract in the NBA, that's fine. He was like, but while you're over here, listen to what I'm saying. And if you follow what I'm saying exactly, if you don't make the NBA, I promise you this is going to work out. If you do it like this. And so he was like, and if you do it like this, and then you go play in the NBA, you'd be like, oh, okay, cool. I had a year in Europe and it was fun. So, and then when he said that, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And then so when I gave him my word and I said that this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to do it exactly like that. I ain't thinking about the 300. And then from there, I went in, man, and I treated that excuse me, I treated that shit like it was game 7 of the finals every time I went out there. And I mean, I made my mistakes, but I mean, he was calling me every day. And I had, my first coach was Andrea Trinchieri, the guy that's the head coach for Bayern now. Yep. And so man, he was, and I mean, the guy, I swear by him even to this day, he was hard on me, man, but he really taught me what it was like, how to play in Europe and still keep my game at the same time. He incorporated beautifully. And so like the whole way that him, my agent, and they masterminded that thing, it was the perfect scenario.
That's incredible, man. There's so many guys, and not just guys, I mean agents specifically, that just chase the dollar and don't understand what you just described.
Right.
I can tell you, and I don't want to make this about me or my guys or anything like that.
Listening, bro. I'm learning.
I got a young kid in Serbia right now, right? Who's going through the exact same thing.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about during that time when you're in Italy and I know you're killing it, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about the noise? Like you got your agent who's telling you, this, just stay the course. It's going to be just fine. Just stay the course. And I'm sure other agents probably are reaching out. And you're getting up.
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about how you were able to push out the noise and just stick to the grind and stay present and in the place that you were at, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
So, so what ended up happening was, so I'm not gonna lie, like I had my battles with that. Like, it wasn't once I did said I locked in, like I still had one for them, one for that. I was doing that. Hey man, did you see he got hurt? Man, maybe they can use this, or man, what they doing? Like, man, I can go there next year or this and that. And man, and my guy, he was just so patient. And like all of those questions I had and all those times I would come to him, he was just like, Keith, look, he was like, nothing's gonna change right now. He was like, if somebody twists their ankle in the NBA, they're not thinking about you. And he was so honest with me, man. And that's the thing. And I think one thing young guys need to understand, and that's one thing I've never been sensitive to, the truth and criticism. One thing that he needs to that when young guys need to understand is that when somebody close to you tells you the truth and you start to feel uncomfortable, that's when you need to start listening. You start listening at that, when that shit start bubbling up inside and you like, man, oh. Yeah. That's the moment when you gotta like lock in and be like, what can I get from this? Because if it's uncomfortable, like that's your moment for growth. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But if you rocking with somebody, especially somebody you work with, and everything is just streamlined and you keep hearing what you want, man, you're gonna be so much more hurt if the results when it don't work out. You know what I'm saying? And so me and my agent, like,
Keith, I'm sorry. Dog, I can't tell you how powerful what you just said was, dog. That is game. Please run that back. Please. I need to just run that back.
Right. So I'm gonna say it again. So here's the thing. When somebody you're working with, and like I said, somebody you're close to, but especially when somebody you're working with and you're in business with, when they start telling you something that makes you uncomfortable and makes you want to rebuttal, and it starts bubbling up inside you and you start getting angry and sensitive and all that, at that moment, that's when it should click and you need to start listening. because there's wisdom in all of that. Because if whatever somebody's telling you, if it's smooth and it's rolling and all that, man, like, first of all, I wouldn't have been in A2 Italy. Your man wouldn't be in Serbia right now if everything was going smooth with what everybody told us, from the beginning, from high school and college and all that. We wouldn't even be here to begin with. So at that point in time, when it's uncomfortable, man, that's when you have your growth. And I think it is so difficult to understand that, especially back then it was uncomfortable. So I can only imagine how it is now with the gram and everybody flexing so crazy. And I mean, the pressure, it's got to be immense for somebody who's already not comfortable in their own skin. But man, whenever your mans tell you something that don't feel good, that's when you got to lock in at that moment. You got to fight all of that. You got to fight all of that in you. So, yeah.
So Keith, man, you've been into a lot of countries that you played in. You played in Russia, Greece, Italy, all over, big teams. You won championships. You've been scoring leaders.
Right.
We've all experienced a lot, seen a lot being in Europe. Mm-hmm. What would you say the craziest story or the craziest thing that you've seen on or off the court? It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So my first year in Russia, my second year in Russia, right? So this is my second 7-figure contract, right? So I've climbed the ladder and I'm starting to establish myself. I'm feeling pretty good. And everybody knows Russia is a little bit, it's a little wild, wild west when it comes to ethics and rules and things like that. So at that point, sometimes in Russia, they're paying those monthly payments in cash. And so now mind you, this is before Instagram, this is before, so now mind you, I had Instagram, I'm 25 at the time, and I had the gram at that time. Listen, man, these dudes think y'all doing something now, man. This is 09 Russia, 010. Yeah. Oh my God. So anyway, you can
say it. You getting 6 figures a month.
6 figures a month. Easily post that. Literally, in Russia, so the months we get paid in cash, they would give us armed security and a driver, and we would go from the team office to the bank, and they in the back in the private room with a money counter. And I'm in there so at that point I got a little BlackBerry, right? I got the little BlackBerry, and I'm trying to sneak the little swings, I'm in there with the money counter, ooh, I ain't never seen nothing like that. And so I'm and I got the armed security right there. I got an assistant from the team. She got the bag of money, and I'm just I'm sitting there. I'm damn, this is crazy. And so but at that time, documenting it ain't really it ain't the same like this now. So anyway, getting into the story, that's not even the story. The story is, so the money counter's going, and this is going. I'm I'm loving it. And then at the end, every now and then she's taking out some bills. I'm hold on, you need to count that too. That's all mine right there. So, but every now and then she's taking out some bills, and then she's straightening up these other ones, and and then at the end she slides them back under the little thing, and she says something in Russian, and the lady's name was Anna. She's talking to Anna, and I'm Anna, what's going on? She's hey, that's my money right there. She's like, hold on. And so they're going back and forth in Russian, and she's okay, all right, no. And then so she's all right. And then so so the lady gives me the receipt, letting me know what was deposited or whatever, and I'm hold on. And then she gives me another receipt saying I can't see it because it's in Russian, but it's $5,000 something that she took out and she gave back, but I can see that it's $5,000 something. I'm yo, what's going on? She's I'll tell you when we get outside. And then so she gets on the phone and she's talking in Russian, so I can't understand. And then so I'm Anna, what's going on? She's hold on, we're going back to the gym to meet with Beach Cove. Beach Cove is he's not the owner of the team, he's the president. He's the president of the team at the time. So he's we're going back and we're gonna meet with Beach Cove. And so she's on the phone, and finally she's da. Da is yes in Russian. So she hangs up, and then I'm what's going on? She was Beach Cove will explain everything to you when you get back. And I'm was like, you can't tell me. She's like, Keith, please, just let Beach Cove tell you. And so we get back. I go up there, like, you know, I'm kind of mad. Like, I want all my, I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? Like, I was like, and so literally, like, so at Beach Cove, like, his office is at the top of the gym. You go up all these stairs, and then after you go up all these stairs, you got to take an elevator to get all the way up to the top where his office is. You go up there, there's a door, there's a wood door, and then behind the wood door, there's a steel door, reinforced steel door, and then you got to open that. So you go in the office, and then, like, it's just like something out of a movie, man. It's this fat Russian guy with a big-ass mole on his chin, and he's sitting there. He can barely speak English, and he's sitting there. And so Anna, she comes in, she's behind me, and they're talking, and I'm kind of like going back and forth. I'm looking at them, and so he's like, Beach Cove wants to apologize to you for the money that was returned. And I was like, okay, yeah, but what's wrong? She was like, yeah, the bank can't accept money when it has residue of cocaine on it.
Oh,
I was like, what? And then so I was like, oh, what you mean cocaine? He's like, man, I didn't do nothing. She's like, no, it's fine, don't worry. And she was like, some of the bills were wet, some of the bills had cocaine residue. It's all right. So Beach Cove, he grabs the money. He was like, he grabs the file. It's like 5,200, 5,300 or something like that. He grabs it. He's like, Keith. He was like, problem? Like, don't worry. So he puts the money down on the side, or like, well, I don't know if he threw it in the trash or he threw it down in a little drawer that he had down there. He's like, okay. And then he turns around, and there's like a big ass safe like this. And he like, and he opens it up. There's a big ass brick of euros, dollars, rubles, all that. Takes out like a big ass brick, throw it on the table, and then he tells her to come around. She counts out 5,300, and he's like, "Good, okay, all right, go." And I walk out with the money, and that was it. I was like, "Oh, like that's." I mean, I was like, "Damn, like I'm."
Dave, talk about Dave. That's the wildest story we've heard so far.
Yeah.
Hey, Keith, we're probably 20 episodes in.
Okay.
That's the wildest story we've heard.
Yo, man, I spent 5 years in Russia, man. Russia was a beast. It's beautiful because you can do everything you want, but at the same time, you got to navigate it like carefully.
Yeah, you got to be careful. Protect yourself.
You do. You really do. Yeah, sure. Right.
So you leave Russia, right? After 5 years, right? After acting a plumb nut in all these leagues and giving everybody the business and work and dropping everybody off. And then you go where from Russia?
I went to China.
And what made you make the decision to leave Europe to go to China?
Okay, so there's two parts to that answer. So first, like, a lot of people don't really understand this about me. So one of my mentor the first year when I got to Russia was J.R. Holden.
Okay.
I mean, I took me under his wing, man, and I mean, you talk about game. I mean, he was a huge source of the approach, how to approach Europe, how to approach being a professional, just how to be great in your own space. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, he was huge in that. And so one thing with Europe that I really tried to do, man, was that I wanted to see if I was good enough. I challenged myself and said, as long as I'm able to be paid what the other top paid players in my position are in Europe, I wanted to see if I was good enough to take a team that had never done something in Europe and do that. Okay, I was crazy enough to try that, but I turned down opportunities like Barcelona, Fenerbahce. I turned down those places because I wanted to see if I could get Milan, Khimki, Kazan to the EuroLeague playoffs or to the final, at least to the Final Four. My goal wasn't to win it, but I was like, if I can get one of those to the Final Four, then I can be the GOAT more so than somebody who, like, Barcelona's been there. Barcelona goes all the time. Seska goes every year, this and that.
Right.
So if I can do that one time, I'll be the GOAT. Like, and that was really my thing. Like, I was like, yo, like, all I got to do is do it once, just once. And so that became my obsession. And so, man, so at the end of 5 years, at that point, at the end of 5 years in Russia, it was 13 or 14 years. So I was burnt out, man, because I had literally given everything I had to trying to accomplish that. I mean, and man, like you said, a lot of them accolades that he read was all done in that time span. And then so by the time I got to that last year in Kazan, I was spent, man. I needed something different. And I was just like, and it was crazy because we were talking to Minnesota at the time, and they ended up taking Marcus George Hunt because they thought I was too small. So they thought I was undersized for the position, which, okay, I mean, that was Tibbs. Man, they came to Baskonia, and I had a meeting with Brian Palga, and he watched me play, and we sat down and we talked. And I mean, we did all these things. And so I thought it was really going to happen because I was like, all right, like, I'm really done with this at the end. And then so when it happened, I had a year left on my contract in Russia. And like a lot of people don't know this, but I had a 7-figure year left on my contract. And I told them, like, no, I don't want it. Like I don't want, like I didn't have a contract. I didn't have an offer somewhere else. I was just like, yo, like I literally can't do this because I've given everything that I have. And it's the only way my agent came back to me and was like, look, I got 2 EuroLeague offers for you, but they're both, $500,000 less than what you've been making the last 5 years. And I was like, all right, I'm not going. So, I mean, I hear, it's like my value is like, I still have value. At that point, I was 33 going on 34. So I was like, I still felt I had value. And so then it was random, man, and China popped up. And I was like, and that was the freshness that I needed. At that point, I needed something different. My mind was spent. I was tired. I was tired of just I was a little bit tired of Europe, man, to be honest. And so China came, and I was like, cool, let's go and do China. And so I went to China, and the one mistake I made with China, I had knee surgery in China, but I tell a lot of people that I could use knee surgery as an excuse in China because I hurt my knee the first preseason game. But the truth is, when I went to China, I really wasn't prepared to prove myself all over again. Like I was Keith Langford, and I didn't have to prove to you that I need the ball at the end of the shot clock. I didn't have to prove to you that I need the ball at the end of the quarter, or that you need to run plays for me, this and that. But when I got to China, I didn't have that name, like, because a lot of NBA guys come over there. Jared Sullinger was on my team. He was the NBA guy. And it was like at 34, because I had my 34th birthday in China, and I was just like, I said, man, no, like, you got to just give me the ball. Like, I'm not about to sit here and prove to you in training camp. I didn't have that in me at that time. And then so once I had knee surgery, and then I tried to come back, and then I didn't have the right mentality. I was like, you know what, it's not gonna work. And it showed in my play as well. I mean, if I'm being honest, it showed in my play. And then so after I tried for about a month after I came back from knee surgery, and then it was obviously wasn't gonna work. And then so I left China in January of 18, I think that was.
So you left China, and when you left China, you actually went back to Israel, correct?
Right, that's right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So Israel, we all know Israel as one of the premier places for Americans to go to just enjoy.
Absolutely.
Obviously, the basketball is good, but the living.
The lifestyle, yes.
Yeah. So in alignment with everything else you were saying, was that kind of a refreshing thing for you? Something you needed?
Absolutely. You hit the head on the nail. So I'm tired. I get hurt, and I don't play well in China. And then once I get back, so I'm thinking, I get back in January, and the EuroLeague deadline is February 28th, 29th. So I'm thinking, all right, I just came off of winning the top scorer trophy. Somebody, Keith Langford available. Somebody gonna sign me. I'm not tripping. Somebody all right. I'm talking to my guy. I'm like, yo, what is it? Is it 75 a month, 100 a month? I ain't tripping. He come back to me. He's like, Keith, nah, nobody wants you. I'm like, and so at that point, I'm like, what you mean? Nobody? What you talking about? He's like, give me a week. I'll call you back. So for that week, I'm really I'm like, man, he coming through. Cause like literally from this time, like literally from all this like 10 years plus, like every like majority of the phone calls have been, all right, yo, you need to choose between this, this, and this, and this, and this. Like he was like, and when he called me back, he was like, look, man, he's like, you got hurt, you didn't play well. Last team you played on, you scored a lot, but you guys lost. So he was like, look, man, like, there's nothing. And I was like, hold on, man. You mean I've been doing all the stuff my man Big Dave just read off. I've been doing all the time. And you mean there's no job? Are you serious? There's no job. So he's like, nah. I mean, straight up. And then so it's like, and just like the what I told you earlier, instead of blaming him, trying to find a new agent, trying to do all this stuff, I just said, you know what? I said, then what's out there, man? He was like, look, man, he's like, you can go to Reshawn for 8 games. And they'll give you, I think I want to say it was like 30 or 40,000, something like that. I mean, I was like, it wasn't even about the money. He's like, look, they got 8 games left. He's like, you need to go there and just show that you can still play. And then I said, all right, man, when we leave. And that was it. I was like, set it up, send it to me, and I'll go, man. And so I went, I averaged 20 for 8 games, and I was healthy the whole time, and I showed I could play, and then I signed with Panther Nightgoes during the summer.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that gets you the grease. Before we talk about this part of your career, I want to ask this question.
Okay.
Out of all the dudes you faced, all these places you done been, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who cooked you? Ooh. You did a lot of cooking. Who cooked you?
Listen,
you did a lot of cooking.
Hey, this is funny because I just texted this guy 2 days ago. It's funny you say that. Listen, I had literally never been cooked in my career. Never been cooked. And there have been some guys that kind of like make me struggle on offense, but I've never been in a situation where I played against somebody like, yo, there's nothing I can do to this guy. And it didn't happen. I was in China. And so the good thing about this is that it's like, I don't think this footage is ever going to be out there. This ain't like, it ain't no, it's not, nobody going to be able to pull it up. And listen,
I got synergy, fam.
Before you release it, just let me know. Let me see it.
I got you.
So look, so I was playing in Shenzhen for the Shenzhen Leopards in China. Okay. And Jeremy Pargo had played for the Shenzhen Leopards the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had like an ugly breakup with them, and like, they had accused him of doing some stuff. Anyway, it was an ugly breakup. And so he had just came back to China, and I want to say it was maybe his first or second game back. And man, we came in the gym, and it was like, oh, they signed, because he had replaced somebody, they signed Pargo. I'm like, okay, I done played against Pargo before, and when he was in Maccabi, and I was in Kimki, and I know Pargo can hoop, can jump, everybody know he's athletic, and man, look, and the crazy thing, the first quarter, I started out the game, hooping, got like a quick 8, 10. I'm like, good, we winning. And all of a sudden, man, this dude just, I don't know, man. He hit me with a couple of joints, got to the rack. Chinese players wasn't helping. Like, so there was no help. And then, so like, once I'm biting on the drive, he started snatching back and hezzying. And then, so I started to get a little more physical. Then he started pulling up from like 3 or 4 feet behind the zone. And I'm like, I'm looking around. I'm tired. It's hard. I'm like, feeling. It's like, yo, I was like, what's funny is I literally like thought to myself, I was like, oh, this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. Hey, listen, man, I've never been done like that in my career, man.
What he finished with?
Oh, man, I want to say he damn near had 50. It had to be at least 50. I mean, if he had 50, I had like 38 of them, 50. I had, and it was no help, just me and him. I mean, just.
Hey, Dave, why he get to blaming his teammates, though? Why he get to blaming his teammates?
I wasn't going to be that guy, like, but I was, a couple times I was looking around, like, where y'all at? But,
you need to blame the
man, I mean, in China, it's American on American.
It's the management.
The man didn't have that. Somebody, it ain't mine. I mean, and at that point, I was like, man, I don't want to play here no way. So I'm Man, China whack, man. China weak. Man. I'm gonna toe up. It's bound to happen to everybody, man.
Right, no question.
No question. We played for this many years.
Yeah, exactly.
This
Exactly.
don't happen.
And as many
what,
times as I've been on that.
We've had some guests come over here and said it never happened to them.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I ain't gonna say they lying, but that's good for them. If it ain't never happened, that's good.
They ain't played no basketball if it ain't never happened. So,
right. I heard that. Not no real ball. So
nah. So with that, I want to ask you this too.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the one dude? Because you done cooked damn near everybody, right? So who's the one dude or two or three, however many you want to name off, that have just been real disruptive to what you do and you couldn't quite figure them out? Yeah. Like, who are those dudes?
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, I literally, like, EuroLeague Defensive Player of the Years. God, I'm going to say his name, too. Guys like Adam Hanga and these defensive stoppers, easy, no problem. Like, literally, I'm not worried about Adam. I'm not worried about anybody. And the first time I played against this guy, I was like, oh, no, like, okay, I need to literally get ready for this guy and, like, watch the film, go in my bag. Because the first time I played against him, I just didn't even, I didn't think. Charles Jenkins. Is a dog, man. And he's 6'2", and he's strong. You can't move him on the post. You can't get him out of there with off the bounce. He's gonna contest. He's gonna fight you. He's tough. And I was like, Charles ain't biting on no jab step. He ain't biting on no cross. He gonna keep coming. And like a lot of times, like a lot of guys, like what I tell people is like, you can guard moves and you can guard, counters and different things like that, but you can't guard freedom. And a lot of people break because of the freedom that I have. You break for the fact that, damn, Keith don't care if he missed 3 or 4 in a row. He coming back and attacking again. But man, listen, this guy, you make 3 or 4 in a row, it don't matter. The intensity is the same. And I respect him, man, because he's one of them guys that, like, it's hard as hell, but even if you score on him, he'll still pat you on the butt. I mean, he's just a competitor. He's tough. And Charles, man, he's always, every time I played against him, man, it's always been my biggest challenge by far. I don't care who the other defenders were. Or he's been tougher than even some double teams I've had to face. That's no BS, seriously.
All right, Keith, man. Question of the day. Your favorite country that you would live in? That you played in?
That I played in.
The countries you played in, which one would you say that, man, I can live here? And why?
I was Israel. I mean, going back to what Alvin was talking about earlier, just the atmosphere, the language, the lifestyle, I think it's also one of the few places and it's not even Europe, technically, which also amazes me that Israel is part of the European League, but it's one of the places where, like, they don't look at, the black man or the black athlete in a certain way, like in other places, it's the one place where you can be yourself more than anywhere else. And then taking into consideration just the way the Israeli life is and the restaurants, and like I said, the language. I mean, they just do a great job all the way around. And even and I thoroughly enjoy my time in Maccabi, and even more so the time when I was in Rishon.
So we just started asking this question. I hope I don't catch you off guard with this. A lot of people don't understand that the competition in Europe is tough. It's not easy. It's a lot of dogs that come over here and play. Everybody come and get at it, right? Yeah. So if you had to make a starting 5 of players that you've played against, played with, Europeans, Americans, who would that starting 5 be?
Oh, man. So my point guard is going to be, listen, I think he's one of the most underrated guys. He's Kino Cologne. He plays for Valencia right now, but he was my point guard at Kazan for 2 years. And man, look, this guy, like, I mean, he looks like a little white man at the liquor store, but I mean, you know,
He
he
looked
bald.
chubby out there, but he get busy.
Little chunky dude, he bald, man. But listen, man, this guy can hoop. He can hoop. He see everything. He not scared. And I mean, I was like, yo, like, and I was mad at Kazan when they signed him. I was like, yo, like, why did you bring him? Like, but listen, man, this guy got out there. He competed. And I mean, I challenge anybody to go look at film of this guy. He's incredible. That's my point guard. Devin Smith is going to be on. Listen, man, Smitty, when I play with him in the college, he's one of the few teammates that I like. When I look over, and I can be like, all right, let's turn it up, let's go. Like, he's right there, he's ready. And I mean, you talk about a guy. I just love playing with him, man. He was all-out competitor, great. I'm gonna take Richard Hendricks.
Yep, big fella.
Big Rich, man. He's in Japan now. You know, Big Rich don't like to work hard, but not anymore. Hold on, Rich. Let me take that. Not anymore. Rich just want to play cerebral ball now. He don't want to grind like he used to. But I get it. You know, we up in age now. But man, Big Rich was amazing, man. Probably, you know, one of the smartest and you know, one of the most people with the most intangibles. I mean, everything he did on the court always contributed to winning, and I got a huge respect for Big Rich. And so, and then and you know, the other European guy that I would put in there, like he doesn't play anymore, but he is a guy named Mirza Teletovic.
Yeah.
You know, Mirza, hey man, look, before he went to the NBA, and he was in like a lot of people know it as Baskonia now, but back then it was
Yep.
I mean, this guy at 6'9", could shoot that thing from anywhere, was athletic, and I mean, he could freaking play, man. Like, I remember the team was him, Tiago Splitter, Walter Herman. I mean, oh man, they had an amazing team, man. They were really good. I mean, and we could never do anything with him. He always gave us problems. And then the two, I'm not putting nobody for myself. I can't.
I was wondering what you were doing. Hey,
I can't put myself. You know, I'm saving that for the last. You know.
So my man went point guard 3,
Yeah,
4 or 5. Oh no, he went 5'4". I'm like, hold on, he left his 2 open, Dave.
Yes, sir. Nah, that'd be crazy. Ain't no way.
Okay. Now, so let's kind of dive back into your career a little bit. So you get past all that. Now you're at this point. You move on. You go to Panathinaikos, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're in EuroLeague that year.
Right.
Can you kind of describe? I know there was some crazy stories from that season, right? I know for sure there's some crazy stuff going on with Panathinaikos at that time.
Who's on your team, by the way, at Panathinaikos?
So Nick Kalathis, James Gist, Stefan Lasme, Matt Majeski, you know, the usual suspects.
Yeah. We got Gist was a guest on our show.
Oh, y'all had Jay-Z? Okay, I gotta go check that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't been a good one.
But can you talk a little bit about that experience, and then I want you to kind of segue that into you making this move to Ike and spending these last few years with Ike.
Okay. So Panathinaikos, I looked at it as like I was 35, and I looked at it as like this is my last chance to. I already know it's Nick's team. You know, Nick Kalathis. You know, he's the guy. But I was like, you know, for the goal that I set out for myself, I was like, this is my last. Like, I want to show. Like, I'm not going to leave Europe in that way. Like, the last image of me is going to be different. And so I recharged the batteries. And when this Panathinaikos opportunity came, the way it was told to me was that, hey, look, it's going to be you and Nick in the backcourt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I mean, and I don't mind. Like I said, at this point, like, I don't mind like going to being the second or third best player on a team. And so, but what I didn't realize is that when I got to Panathinaikos, it's more like you ain't playing with Nick. You on the same team as Nick. There's a difference. And so Pasquale, who's the coach at the time, he's a very big stickler for details and plays and system and things like that. And he has a plan and a format and a way of doing things. And man, it was something that it was uncomfortable for me because it was like, okay, maybe you'll start 2 games and then maybe 2 games you won't start. Maybe 2 games you will play 25 minutes and then 2 games you only play 10 or 12. And so for me, that was, one thing it did do for me was I was like, you know what, it made me glad that I did it the way I did for the majority of my career, because that's not really the way I wanted to play. And that's the good thing about being a pro, is that you have the freedom to make your decisions and choose how to approach your career. And so I didn't want to, like, if being on a big team is what it meant, like that I would have to done that for 10, 12, 13 years, then I wouldn't have been happy the way it came out. So I played my part, because I'm definitely, at 35, I definitely wasn't the guy at 27 that could go out there and fight with anybody for 35 minutes at the height of whatever intensity. But I wanted to be a little bit better, though. I thought I had a little bit more to give, but when I had my chances, I gave what I gave. And but what it did do was that it lit another fire in me, like for a second, like renaissance. And I was like, wow, man, like, and Greece was, living here was great. And I really loved, like, the culture and the way that, even though Greece is not at the top of European basketball, like, if anyone has played here, they understand the level of intensity that people pay attention to the game, and that the level of and how hard the guys in the league play, because the guys here are guys are either taking that next step or they're at the last step. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you get a good mixture of guys trying to prove themselves and guys still trying to prove they got it. And so, man, you get some very intense basketball and hard play basketball. And I won't say it's at the highest level, because, obviously with guys on those 2 ends of the spectrum, like, it can be a little inconsistent at times, but it's still a great atmosphere. And I mean, like I said, combined with the lifestyle and the attention that they the attention they paid to the game is great. But this definitely ain't the place to come in the prime of your career trying to make money. I'll be honest and say that off the rip.
Yeah. So, Dave, I think you wanted to jump into this last little bit of questions you had.
Oh, man, he covered everything that we had to talk about, to be honest with you, man. We just appreciate, you coming on the show. That you're a well-known name around Europe, have been for years. I mean, even when we was playing, which was, probably the beginning of your career, when it was in the middle of ours, your name, you came in with a bang. So, man, we just wanted to give you our, we created this to give all the players that played in Europe their flowers. So, so people in America, people at home could, understand what we go through as European players, because, we all get the little dumb questions about how you live there. I think the war over there, man. How can you handle all this? How you eat the food? But this teaches everybody, what really goes on. But is there anything that you would like to say to maybe the younger generation that's coming in, that's coming to Europe to play, that don't know anything like us? They don't know, just like we don't know. Like we beat it. So,
you know what? I think the main thing that, like, I told a guy this, I forgot his name. He plays for a team here in Greece. It's his first year over here. He came from he played in Montana last year, and
That's
here.
My dude, Saeed Pridgett. That's my dude.
Okay. I don't know if he told you, but I talked to him after the game that we played, and Saeed was doing a lot of talking during the game, and it was like not talking trash, but he was talking about, like, oh, this guy not doing this, and oh, they're not doing that, and and I was like, after the game, I was like, look, man, at this point in your career, and this is for any young guy, especially when you come in the back door, the thing you need to focus on is yourself. You got to focus on the things you do best. You got to be as professional as you can. if he don't pass the ball, if he don't box out, if he don't run the play right, all that don't matter. You lock in to be as good as you can possibly be, and then you got to make sure at the end of the day, because the jobs are, man, they come and go. You got to make sure that you're protecting your job. You got to make sure that you're protecting your well-being and your professionalism, and you need to be ready to play every time you get on the floor. All that talking, man, like, oh man, why you didn't go up? No, man, Saeed need to worry about Saeed. And then I also told him, and what I tell everybody else is, look, the point when it takes off for anybody in Europe, when it takes off from 160 to 350 to 500 to 1 million to 1.822, whatever, the point when it takes off is when you have 2 feet in over here. Like, you got 1 foot in the States and 1 foot out, or you G Leaguing and then you coming over here and then you halfway through the season. Can't do that. You got to be great where you at. I don't care if you're in second division, 1 game a week, if you're in BCL, if you're in Euro Challenge, like, it don't matter, man. You got to be great where you at in that moment and have 2 feet in, because you're not going to get the most of what Europe can offer. You know, if you focused on what's going on somewhere else. And then the last thing, man, which is, I think one of the things is the most important, is we touched on it earlier when we talked about, you know, going somewhere and they don't have ice and they don't have extra T-shirts and they don't have that. Listen, man, I played in a place where they didn't have somebody to tape ankles. They didn't have them there.
Yeah.
Like, and listen, and it got so particular that I didn't like the way the uniform fit, so I took my shit to a tailor. Like, I took it to a tailor because I know I want the jersey to come right here. Like, I want the shorts to fit like so. And that's one of the beautiful things about Europe that people don't understand, is that, like, okay, the rules are a little, you know, a little funny, you know, a little fidgety, but that also gives you room to create what you need. So that's, you can go to a tailor, or you can go find a masseuse if you do a little research online. You can go find, you can shape these things and make them to what you want them to be, even if you don't have the resources, but you need to be resourceful. That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
To that point, my young guy, man, the dude I was telling you that didn't have the water on the table, you know what I told him?
What's that?
How hard would it be for you to go grab 5 bottles of water for the whole team? It would cost you $3, dog. $5.
Exactly. Go do that, man. That's what I'm saying. Listen, it just takes you to another level, man. Listen, and I tell God, you're right, man. The water should be there. It should be there. You're right. But listen, man, you go to a whole nother level, man. You go to a whole nother level if you can do that. You can go grab water and be like, hey, you good? You need one? And everybody will be like, dang, why he not complaining like all the other Americans do?
Right.
Why he not, man, this dude, he move a little different. You know what I'm saying? So that's really what it comes down to, man. You really got to
understand either that little stuff of getting water, not complaining, that keeps you up.
Listen,
that keeps you a job. Because these teams and coaches talk to each other when when you're complaining, coaches don't like that, your teammates don't like that, they don't like you. Next year you sit like, damn, well, I don't have a job. I averaged 15 last year.
Exactly. And what people don't know is these European coaches, they take players with them when they go to jobs.
Yeah.
So and that happens all the time, man. I had my coach from Kimchi brought me to Milan. It's just, man, these things happen, man. And so, like, the better you can operate and navigate, man, like, and you just got to listen, because, I mean, the information is out there. So as long as you're resourceful, man, you're good. So, man, I appreciate you guys having me on for sure, man. Let me talk, and Marcus know this. Marcus know I don't know what he told y'all before, but I told him, man, I'm gonna talk to him now.
No, but that's why we built this. We want dudes to come on here and be real. We're not doing the politically correct, like, nah, let's talk.
Absolutely. No. This is great. And I feel awful that I hadn't, like, really, because I heard of it before, because when he said, I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this before, that I really hadn't listened to any of them before, but I mean, this is extremely informative, man. It can help you guys. Even if it only helps 2 or 3, you know what I mean? It's worth it. You know what I'm saying? And you guys doing a great job, man. So.
Yeah, everybody got a different story, a different character, so, you know, you get a different point of view from, you know, everybody who comes on, man. So, you know, it's dope, man. We really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
You gave us a lot of great gems that you dropped.
Right.
In the show. So,
Okay.
for people who want
Hey,
to
turkey, man. Let's get some tea. Let's get some tea, man.
some chai, yeah, man. We get some chai.
Let's get some chai, man. Let's get some chai.
You get some pie and a kebab if you want. This whatever.
Okay.
Hey, you know what else we need to do with you?
What's that?
So I'm in Seattle.
Okay.
And in the summer, man, I'm sure you heard of the Jamal Crawford Pro-Am.
Oh, 100%.
We got to get you up here, dog. We got to get you up here.
As long as if I get to play against Jamal, man, hey.
Oh, that's easy.
I'm in there. Listen, because I'm going till 40. That's what I'm going to do. That. I'm going till 40. So I need to see what it, you know what I mean. I need to see it up close and personal. I would love that, man.
Listen, before the show, I'm still trying to get at it.
That's right. Yeah.
I can set that up easy though. That's nothing.
Hey, Alvin, no joke. I would love to, man.
Okay.
And that's
Jamal's like my brother, so I can set that up. Yeah. I can definitely set that up.
Hey, don't look at this dude crazy. Like, why are you playing so hard? But don't I'm just trying.
You know what? You know what you may have done?
What's that?
Jamal just told me like 2 days ago. He's like, man, so you just not gonna have me on the show? I said, Mo, you ain't been to Europe. It's like, man. So he's like, man, get me on the show. I'm like, I gotta come up with a reason, but this may be the reason. You mentioning him may be the reason. You know what I mean?
Oh man, that would be sweet, man. Yeah, do that. If you set that up, I'm in there. So COVID willing, I'm in there, brother.
Right. Man, we really appreciate you, man.
So for the people who don't know how to follow you, get in contact with you, man, what's your handle on Instagram, Twitter?
So Twitter is Keith_Langford. Instagram is Keith Langford, then _@ the end. And then if any of you boys out there, man, young boys, any of y'all really want, want to talk, want to chop it up, want to listen. I should say that. Listen, AKLangford@gmail.com, man. Hit me up.
That's big time. Yeah. That's dope.
Hey man, like I said, man, thanks for coming on. Appreciate everything that you talked about, man. It was a great show, man. Great show.
Absolutely, man. I had a great time, man. I appreciate you. I'm sorry I didn't come on sooner, man.
Appreciate you, dog.
Thanks for watching the EuroSteppin podcast. Catch us on Next One's YouTube page and nextones.com. You can also catch us on everything audio on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That's EuroSteppin Podcast, no G.
Because we got all the game.
Yeah. Thought it was a joke, what they still playing games for? Holes in my denim, never holes in my game, no. You won't be just like me, they don't love you the same, no. The series 3-0, and I'm back home for game 4.